guys, so welcome back to December's bookish video for my channel. Every month usually it's gonna either be like a short video or it's gonna be a full long video, like more in detail of my whole month and its progress with reading. So my TBR, a wrap up at the end of the video, I show you like me reading, like my reading journal, all of that. So if you guys are interested in that, obviously subscribe, because each month it's either posted at the very end of the month depending on how the days at the calendar look like, and then it's either going to be like the first week of the month. Let me show you the books I plan on reading in December. Goal was to only read 100 books this year, and I think right now I'm at 90 something, but in reality I'm not counting the Christian books I read this year. That just means that I probably already surpassed 100 books, so for that reason I'm not really caring if I'm above 100. We have Christmas Tree Farm, only Christmas book I bought, so I have to read this, and it's perfect because it's literally Christmas time, so why not read it? I have Yo for me because this book is the last one I have from the trilogy and I just kind of want to get it over and done with. I do not want to go into the new year with books that, for example, I have like one book left in the trilogy or in the series not completed, so I'm gonna read this just so it's done. I just bought these. This was not in my plan to read because I'm waiting for the paperback for the third book to like come out from the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and I don't know when it's coming out actually, so this is a bad idea because I know I'm gonna want to read book 3 and they don't have it on Kindle, so I have no idea, but I'm gonna plan. I want to read it. I guess going into 2025 is finding books that are so like you feel it deep in your heart, like the words they say, like it's so romantic. It's not about the smut. A year and a half ago where I was like, what's happening with romance books? Like, yes, smut can be fun, it's hot sometimes, but in reality like it just felt like authors were using it and it no longer was about romance. I want to read this because I heard someone say like this trilogy is so good for that, like it's just pure heartfelt romance to finish the series, which this is Monica Murphy and I think it's called the Callahan series. It is football. I read book 1, or actually I read 2 books already in the series. I think I might be wrong, but the reason I'm even putting it in here even though I don't really care for football is because I've had this series I think going for 3 years already and I just need to finish it. Like I need it to be done. Usually when I do these TBRs I end up adding like a book or doing something else, but we'll see as the month goes. But just wanted to show you my TBR. Okay, we're starting off the reading portion vlog of this video that you guys know I always do, and we're starting off Once Upon a Broken Heart. I was literally looking at all the books I picked for this month and I just don't know because this is thick. And here's the thing, I don't want to say I'm in a book slump, but ever since I stopped reading as I used to and I've slowed down, and that goes hand in hand with my disappointment with books because I don't feel like any books really draw my attention, or if they do, like they end up just being like okay, decent books but nothing major. So it almost makes me feel like I don't even want to read as much as I used to. But I'm gonna start this and there's good hype around it, so I'm just gonna hope for the best and we're gonna get to reading. And I'm comfy in my PJs. Okay, I read for like 40 minutes in the morning when you first saw this, and then I read or tried to read like 30 pages right now, so I'm at page 94. I think I'm putting the book away for now because I'm not into it. Like when he appeared at the very beginning, I was a little bit, my interest was piqued. However, the fantasy side of it, my mind is not there. I'm not focused. It's not working. And I've heard amazing things about this book, so I think I need to put it away for my own good because I just can't right now. And it's gonna be a temporary pause and read another book. Instead, I think I'm gonna start Making Her Mine, which is football. I have 4 books left in the series, including this one, so I think I'm gonna start this tomorrow and I'm gonna just try to finish that whole series so I can move on into the rest of the books. And then we're gonna come back up here and do all the holiday stuff, but it wasn't too bad. The drive wasn't bad. Was it bad? We got here, we're in the elevator, we're going. So it's a lot later. It's been like almost 3 days, I want to say. And let me just say, I have a full update because I started to read Once Upon a Broken Heart and I just couldn't get into it. So I put it aside for a second, and instead I ended up reading this one, Corrupt Gods, which it's bound up. It has 3 books, but technically I found out that the last portion of the book, this is what I hate when authors do this, because it's bonus chapters and the bonus chapters are only like 20 pages, and then the rest it's a glimpse to another book that she has. And I was just like, so I bought this thinking it was 3 books, but in reality it was just 2 books with like bonus chapters. And point is, I really love this. I loved book 1 when I first read it, and then I recently read book 2 obviously, and it was equally as good. So this was a good start. So then I was like, okay, I'm on a streak because I finished this. I went to read another book, which you'll see in my wrap up, and once again I ate it up. I finished it within a day. And then I was like, okay, let me get back to my TBR. Picked up this, which you already know, if you've been specifically watching me for books. This was in my finish in 2024. I also have it in this TBR for the month, and I have read book 1, which is close to me, months ago, and it was just simply okay. It was one of the books I would always reference, just being like, it's just okay. Like, there was nothing to it, if anything. And I had these 4 left. So then I read Making Her Mine, and this one was okay. It took me a while to get into it, and I was just noticing the same things from book 1, and I wasn't loving it, but it was okay, so I finished it. And then I was like, okay, let me just go on and finish the series. When I tell you I picked up this book, which technically I read it out of order because this is the last book in the series, I picked up this one and I just couldn't. And one of the things I made myself like promise that I would do this year was not force myself to finish books that I did not like. And I was 50 pages into it, and I was just like, I can't do it. I can. The main issue with it, because I'm not going to talk about it in my wrap up, is that these books just feel so like high school, so childish in a way. And I'm 24, and it takes place in high school. It's football. There's explanations about everything. A random guy's party, oh, this guy, his parents are divorced, this and that. It's a whole paragraph of who this guy is, and I'm just like, I do not care. And I just couldn't do it. It was just bad. And I love Monica Murphy's A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime and All Things I Wanted to Say But Didn't. I love that series. The Lancaster series is really good, and it takes place still in high school, but for some reason it's more elevated. It's way better. It feels like Gossip Girl. But these books were just bad, and I think this is her first series, so it kind of makes sense. But I'm just DNFing them, and I'm gonna sell them because I cannot. This one, but I don't want to read this one yet. I was almost hoping to read this book the very last week of December, so now I have to pick out new books. And I think I'm not gonna pick out books, and I'm just gonna start grabbing whatever looks interesting and read. This is the very end of this video, but as you saw, I didn't really record a lot in this month, and that's just because I never got the chance to actually sit down and read. I just wasn't really interested in reading this month, and out of the whole year, which I've been slowing down in my reading, this is the first time I really just didn't read a lot. I ended up DNFing or putting books away a lot, and I don't want to say I'm in a book slump, because yesterday I literally just read this one book and I finished it within the day because it was that good. So it's just more the lack of me finding books I truly love and can fall deep in love with. Majority of the books I'm reading, they're not doing it for me. Didn't get a lot of footage from the month. I am gonna go through like my wrap up of my 2024 in books, to my wrap up of December, and then I'm gonna go through all the books and just point out the ones I really enjoyed. To Touch You, which was book 1. I feel like I talked about this. So I read Making Her Mine. This is book 6 in the Callahan series, and I think I already mentioned it a little bit on this video, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. It just wasn't my favorite, and it sucked because this made me officially DNF the whole series. Finally finish The Corrupt Gods Duet, which I thought it was 3 books, and it ended up being 2 books. This duet was actually really good. It's mafia, it's enemies to lovers, arranged marriage, and I read Little Liar. At the beginning of the year, I read book 1, which is Little Stranger, and I loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars. This, however, is disappointing because I'm giving it 3.7 stars, and if you know, I love book 1, but the reason I'm giving it 3.7 is because the whole first part of this book is literally a repeat of book 1, just in his point of view. Now, I love this couple, I very much do, but it almost just felt like it wasn't necessary. It added a lot more things. Like, yes, I like seeing what happened afterwards, like how the relationship would go about, but I just feel like instead they added this whole new element, kind of like in an action movie. Like, they just throw something to kind of please or bring out a new movie, like a sequel, and it's just like, that's not what we wanted. Like, I would have been fine if it would have just been like a short 100-page novella of the relationship and how she, if you read the book, this book focuses on how she just wants to date him normal, and he's just like, but why are we gonna date normal? That's not us. It wasn't my favorite. Like, the whole, like, just everything they added to this book, I was just like, why? What was the reason? Like, I'm telling you that I read and I really enjoyed. I read To Hate You, which is book 2 in the duet, of Reckless, which To Touch You was the first book, and To Touch You I gave it 4 stars, and this one I'm giving it 3.7, but I put 4 stars on Goodreads, and it's the same reason, just because there's like so much to the story. I want to say it does venture into dark romance, and it's really good. I enjoyed it, but once again, it just felt like a big extended epilogue. I read Heal For Me, and by read I mean like barely. I want to say I read a good portion of it and then I just skimmed, because this is a trilogy that I started at the beginning of the year. I liked book 1. Book 2 went downhill for me. Like, this is supposed to be forbidden, a coach and his athlete, and it's supposed to have that forbidden aspect, but when I tell you, this girl was truly just so immature, and the guy in here is also like, he just didn't care. Like, the whole point of forbidden, especially between like coach athlete, like things like that, is like you have to be careful with being caught. He just did not care. In many ways he was also childish. It just wasn't my favorite. But I had book 3, and once again, I was trying to finish all the books I read this year that was either a duet or it was like a trilogy or a series. Like, I wanted to get them done so I could kind of start fresh the new year, and I was like, let me just finish this. And I'm literally not lying to you, today is the 30th of December, and I was reading it. I started last night and I was just like, I can't do it. She's just so immature. I do not like her. Him, he kind of annoys me. Deep trigger warnings with this book. But I just saw a TikTok yesterday where it's just like someone's reading and they're like remembering they have free will and they stop reading the book that they're not liking. But with me, I find it hard to do that sometimes, because I'm just like, I own the book, let me just get through it. The good thing is that with certain books like this where there's so much dialogue but it's just like added things and not actual conversations between them, sometimes I just skip all the in between and go straight to what they're saying to each other, so that made it easier. I just do not like this couple. This trilogy had so much potential, but it went downhill. I feel like there's just so many added characters, so many drama, and it doesn't make sense to me, and I do not like it. I give it 3 stars, but it was not my favorite. I'm currently reading this. This is The Christmas Tree Farm, but I wanted to film this video because it was sunny today, and usually in Chicago, wintertime, it's always gloomy, so there's not amazing lighting. But I wanted to film this before the sun officially went down and it just got dark. But I'm not done with it. I'm halfway through and I'm just gonna put the rating here. It was 100 bucks. I did reach 104. It's gonna be 105 once I finish this one. But these are all the books I read. in these videos that drop monthly. I used to read, I kid you not, about 200 to 100 and plus books, so usually like 180, 190. And then this year I really wanted to slow down, so I read only 100 books. So these are the books. Now from this list, the books that stick out to me that I genuinely loved and appreciate. So Redeeming Love, this book I really enjoyed. This is based off the Bible, the book of Hosea. I loved it. My friend actually got me to read this because she told me about it. It's when I was telling her I had a book club. She recommended me to read it. We had a whole movie night. It was amazing. It wasn't just like a romance book that I picked. It was a book that I would have never picked, but I got recommended. I read it and I loved it. The Season of Secrets by QB Tyler. I don't remember if this is the second time I read it or maybe it was just the first time because it had just come out. I love this. This book was so good. I think it's on the shorter side, but anything QB Tyler I love. I just love how she makes romance where like the guy is almost like head over heels immediately with the girl. I mean, an intentional relationship with her. Is it a little too insta-lovey? Yes, but I kind of like that. This was the year that I really wanted to dive into my rom-com books that I own because I have so many. But when I started buying books, I didn't realize I was going to be a dark romance and forbidden girl type of lover in books. So I had a bunch of rom-coms that I thrifted and I was like, I need to start reading them. And I did. So out of right now, I love Hook, Line, and Sinker. I really did enjoy that book. I loved The God-Parent Trap. I just saw it playing like a movie and it was fun. I also really like the 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. Then a trilogy I loved, and I'm talking like I love, like this is probably the winner of the year because I didn't read a lot of amazing books. This is the trilogy, the Lear series, To Want You, To Have You, and To Lose You. When I tell you this series had me hooked, it was so good. And It Is Forbidden. Little Stranger, as I mentioned, was one of my favorite books. I gave it 5 stars. Then I read Taming 7. Obviously, we know this book was highly anticipated. I was waiting for it. It finally got here. I read it. I did give it 5 stars, but I do think it's because it was highly anticipated and it's been characters that I've loved from the beginning. In reality, it's probably a little bit less because I expected more. Michelle Hurd, I really liked Owned by a Sinner. Then I read The Unwanted Marriage by Katharina Mora. Once again, I gave it 4.5. I think the last part wasn't necessary, which is why it wasn't my favorite, but honorable mention. And also Stolen by a Sinner. And I read God of War. Oof, fire. I gave it 5 stars. Obviously, it was Eli and Ava, and they just been a highly anticipated couple. And then this trilogy took me by surprise. But this is Did I Mention I Love You? Did I Mention I Miss You? And Did I Mention I Need You? If you love Culpa Mia, My Fault, this movie, the books, I personally could not get through the books, but the movie, if you love that, I love this series. I just loved it. It is YA, so there's no spicy scenes, but I think I loved it even more because of that. Because I just truly was like, oh my gosh, what's happening with this couple? Like, what's going on? And this was one of the book series that I was generally interested in what was happening with the friends. By surprise, but Laura Pavlov. I read Frayed. I gave this 4. I think this was the first time I was genuinely interested in reading Small Town because I just never could see myself reading it. And I really enjoyed it, so there's a shout out to that. And then also really enjoyed Tangled, which is book 2 in the same series. Corrupt God's Duet. I really enjoyed that as well. Devious Husband by Katharina Mora. I also gave it 4.7. This whole series has been amazing. It's billionaires. It's mainly arranged marriage, but it was so good. Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I'm even gonna include this one in here because these books are just very cozy. And if you love Gilmore Girls, these books are for you. Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. It was a book club book, and once again, a book I would have never picked, but it was my first thriller and I ate it up. And then the last duet is just mentioned, which is technically called Reckless, but it's To Touch You and To Hate You. And those are all my books of 2024. When I look at it, it kind of disappoints me because Even though 100 books is a lot, to me it feels like I did not read anything enjoyable for the most part. Like, they were all either 3 to 4 stars. So the fact that I'm literally telling you that trilogy was my one and favorite, and probably Redeeming Love is my first, like, as a standalone, and that is it for 2024. Hope and I'm praying that next year, 2025, is gonna be a year of just amazing books. And if you're interested, come along in this journey with me, because as I always mention in these videos, I drop once a month the ultimate book video, and that's this what you're watching. I'm excited for 2025 and which books I'm gonna read, because I'm really gonna try to find the good books. And this is it for this video. I hope you guys had a great year. Let me know which books you loved, that you were just like, you need to read them, and comment down below and I'm gonna get to them hopefully in 2024.